right, good morning. Let's see here. So, where do we begin? So, last stream on Tuesday, I had basically gotten the tile map editor working. When I got off the stream, I did a lot more work on it. The tile map editor is super clean now in the sense that I can place tiles down, I can place the person down. I have limits where I can only place the player. I can only place the player down where there is an open tile and not on an enemy. So I see it here, I can move it. I can go back in, although playing it will not restore anything, and that's what we're going to focus on today. So a big piece of this really just comes down to I was trying to come up with a system for loading. This is going to drive me nuts. Let me just stop him. I was trying to come up with a system for loading the level back in and passing it in a string, but um, there's a lot of things we need to take into account because we're doing this on the Game Boy and the way the GB Studio handles variables. It's not like I can just pass it this like gigantic string. And what I want to do today, although I just realized that I'm not even playing music or doing any of the other stuff. I was in the middle of some other project that I'm trying to get going and building out a Mac Studio with all the AI tools I need for local development, and it's been a bit time consuming. Let me see if I can find where is the royalty free music? Here we go. Let me get that mapped over to. I don't know why that didn't. Here we go. All right. So now we should have some music. Now we have all of our stuff, and let's get going. So it's amazing. Like one day I'm gone and I've become rusty again. I also realized that I do not have my chats up. So yeah, it was actually hard for me to pull myself away from this other project I'm working on, but it's getting incredibly complicated because it involves Docker and rootless Docker and all this kind of setup stuff, and using this thing called Coder for my local dev environment, and then trying to orchestrate it with Llama and having each of the containers be able to pull in whatever AI instance they need, and blah 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 blah. It just goes on and on. So let's switch gears and focus on this. So what I was doing, I want to say Tuesday before I started running out of steam, was that if you hit select now, it tells you that it switches modes, and we should be able to move the cursor, but I don't know where the cursor went. Let's see, I just saw it go here. So let me try this one more time. I think I screwed something up because I think oh, that stinks. I didn't save my work. Great. I wonder how far back. Yeah, alright, this isn't good. Let me see here. Oh, I can't believe I did that. You know what? I think I have a... Oh no, I wouldn't have a backup of it because I didn't hit save. Did I really not do that? Alright, that's fine. I'll come through and just think through how to do this again. What I was trying to do is I was trying to add this logic in the move selector now where it's all tied into global variables. So I create this boundary. And then whenever I switch modes between entering in code or the level editor, what I wind up doing is I just change the boundaries for the cursor. So let me go in here and I can fix this real quick. So the maximum X, I believe, was right here. So maximum X and minimum Y are going to be 18 and 5. So 18 and actually I think I have it reversed. Let's make this 5. Actually, let me double check down here. When I have the editor min y is 11, max y is 20. So I do have it the right way. So minimum y is going to be 5. And then over here, this is 5, 5. We're going to do 5. Actually, I totally lied. I think it actually comes down here. So there's the text space here. So it starts at 5, 6. Minimum x is 5. The minimum y is 6. And this maximum y is going to be 7. I can't believe I didn't save this work. I had so much stuff sort of fleshed out already, and now I just got to remember from 2 days ago what I actually was doing. But it's fine. We'll figure this out together. There's a bunch of stuff that I'm trying to figure out. So let's do this. Let's go back up to this new script that I created called script change paint mode. And whenever we toggle between it, what we do is we swap out the values of these global max x, max y, min x, and min y with the constants. So for paint mode, we're going to do it with this. In code mode, we're going to do this for code. And in the other, we're going to set it up for the editor. What we need to do now is let's create a, we're going to set an actor position. And we need to pass in this actor. This is going to be a selector. And we're going to pass in, we're going to set it to property. We want to set it to its current, the x's current position, but what we want to do here is we want to change this to a variable, and we're going to set this to v minimum y. And so what will happen is that every time we switch modes between either painting or entering in the code, it's going to now move the cursor to the minimum tile. We might have to switch this around. I think it needs to be the max when we're in one mode or the other. But let's see if this actually works. Oh, I didn't move. The other thing we need to do is save actor or actor position. Hold on, let's delete this. Let's store the actor position in variables, and we need to change this back to selector X and selector Y. But I need to figure out where we call this script change paint mode. So let's look for the usages of it, and we'll put it in here. Whoops. All right, I think there should be something in here for when we hit select. Yeah, here we go. In here we toggle this. So we just need to pass in the selector and the selector. And I just want to make sure that if we come back here and we go back into editing this script, I just want to make sure they're right. When this comes in, we save the V paint mode to whatever the paint mode is that's getting passed in. So I used to have it where it was just a toggle, but it didn't give me enough flexibility for me to be able to actually say, okay, I really want you to be in this mode if we needed to switch out. But let's see, I think this now should give us the basic where what I'm looking for is that once we go into the edit mode, we switch between paint and code, it should move the cursor up and down between the two different boundaries. So let's go to edit, stop this guy from falling, and then let's, we'll switch mode. I saw it come down from the top there. So I think what's happening is that it's just, right now it's just sort of all over the place. must not have set up the variable correctly. I do see it is wrapping, but not in the right way. So I must have something wrong, but we'll take a look at that in a second. I'm going to see if I can wrap it. All right, so left and right appears to be working. One thing I noticed yesterday is it's really hard to see the selector over the code, because what winds up happening is that the black outline of the selector winds up blending in with the code letters. So we're gonna have to change the state of that, which is fine. I'll deal with that in a second. And then if we hit, oops, I don't want to do that. I want to get out of this. If we hit select again and we switch, it now puts it here, and we can move around. So let me try this one last time. I'm gonna switch, and now I don't know where the cursor is going all the way up. So I think something's getting, let's take a look back down here. And let's see, when we switch modes, I want to make sure that we're actually doing, yeah, here's the problem. This needs to be set to the C code min Y. And while we're at it, let's just go back into the cursor here. And where's our sprites? Let's look at our selector. I keep calling it cursor. It really is just that. And what we want to do is, I'm going to make a new animation state. We're going to call this code. New state, rename code input. And we're just going to put this here, but I'm just going to change the palette. Oops. Is there a palette here that changes? No, see, I don't think I have a palette that actually changes that. Changes that. So let's do I want to create a whole new palette for this? I'm just trying to think of what we can do here for this. I think what we should do is we should add a new frame to this animation. So let me go to this Aseprite. We're going to open up the selector. And for the canvas, we're just going to, I'll just make it 64 for a second. But so one thing I was thinking about is that, well, I guess we don't need to preview the letter that we're going to input. But what I want to do is I want to change. Let me see if I can change. I'm going to change this to a light color for right now. And let me also save this, come back here, and we're going to reload our assets. And did this just screw up everything? Canvas 16, bottom of line. All right. Let's see if this helps. We'll save this and then come back into here. I might just have to redo all these sprites. Sometimes it acts a little weird when you redo them. I don't think, you know what it is? Yeah, I think it just, I think we don't need this. I think we leave it as 8 by 8. but I think I need to just restart GB Studios for it to look correct, or we're just going to have to redo all these. There we go. Let me save my changes and let me just reload this project. And then that should give us, if we come back into our sprites and we look at our selector, that should now fix everything. So now what we need to do is, where is our code input? We're going to delete this sprite and we're going to use this one instead. And we'll just leave it as, let's make it that. Let's see if this helps. Oh, the other thing we need to do now is let's go to Game World, and when we come here, we want to, let's do this. I want to actually copy this event, paste this event before, whoops, paste the event before, rename, and we're going to call this move selector to code. Rename. Move selector to paint. And the reason why I'm doing it this way is, let's see, this is the editor. So I want to move this up here and put this into here. Into this group, set bounds. And actually I'm going to move this outside of the group into here. So what I want to do is that when we go to code, I want to set it to the we may actually, what I might wind up doing is, let me actually set it to the start position. So what that would wind up being is the max, it would be the minimum, Y and the minimum X. So let's do this. Go back to variable, min X. So that should move the cursor to the top left corner of the boundary area. And then down here, we're going to put this one here. And we want to move the cursor. We'll leave it at the same tile X, and then we'll just do minimum. And then this way, it'll just, wherever you were before, it'll just drop down, and it'll be at the top of the tile map. We could also center it or something like that. I don't know what I want to do just yet. But what I did want to do is I want to go here, and I want to insert an event after, and we're going to animation. We're going to set the animation state for this to default, right? Because this goes back to the editor. And then actually, let's copy this event. We'll come back up here. And we're going to paste this event after, but we're going to set this selector to code input. And let me just make sure this is to the selector. Great. And I want to do one last thing. Sprites. Selector. When we go to our idle code, we're just going to, hey, good morning. We're just going to leave it blank, so it'll just flicker like this when we're going into the edit code mode. All right, let's run this and see if it works. So theoretically, what we're expecting to happen now is that when we go into the edit mode, we hit select, it'll move the cursor either to the code block or back down to the painter area. Let's go here. Let's save our guy from falling endlessly. And now let's switch to this mode. And you can see, okay, I need to just flip it, but oops, that didn't work. Why did that happen? Switch mode. All right. Let me switch mode again. That's really weird. I don't know why. I don't know why that move happens like that. There's something with the there's something here. Oh, here's what it is. We were saving the player's position. We need to set the actor's position. Because what was happening... Oh no, I don't want to do this. I see what I need. Insert event before. Set actor position. And then we're going to set the selector actor to property tile X. And we're going to set this to variable min Y. Delete this. Copy this event. And we'll paste it back here. What I was doing was I accidentally was using move selector to code, and what that does is it animates that actor to a certain position, but we just wanted immediately to jump into the editor. So let's paste this event after. Whoops. We will paste this event after. We will we're going to delete this event, and we're going to move X to we'll just leave it at minimum for right now. Let's just see what happens. Oh no, wait. Right here, what I wanted to do actually was we're going to set it to const variable max Y. Actually, it should be minimum X. For some reason, I think I have like I don't think I did the minimum Y correctly and the maximum Y correctly, but we'll come back to that later. Alright, so we're going to do this. We'll now switch our mode. Oh, there we go. It is correct now. So now we can move. Alright. There seems to be some code that happens when I move. I think what's happening is that it's trying to find the preview, and it can't figure. It's just trying to find. Trying to see if map tile for some reason is returning 0, but whoops, let me cancel this. If we switch back to this mode and then we move around, you'll see how it's how this v map tile ID is changing to 4. It's giving me like a location of where I can place things. We don't have any logic for that in the code, so let's do this. I just want to go back into this mode, even though it's going to be wrong. I just wanted to see that we can loop through the boundaries. All right, so everything's working. What we need to do now is when we move the selector, there is a switch that we do here, somewhere in here. Move selector. We can. Oh, here's the update script update selector. So we have a script here called update selector. All right, this is the switch that happens. So, all right, here's what we're going to do here. We're going to insert an event before, and we're going to set this to. We're going to test to see if the variable compared with. We'll just do this right now. Actually, we can delete this. I lied. What we're going to do is we're going to add a insert an event before true. If variable is true, v paint mode. So if we're in paint mode, we're going to keep. If we get no value back, we're just going to return this as we're going to set the selector back to the default. If not, we will copy this event, paste this event after, and we're going to set this to code input. So basically what happens is that we simply just say, okay, we haven't found a tile to preview for the cursor. So what we're going to do is we're going to see if we're in paint mode, we're just going to go to the default paint. If we're in code mode, we're going to go to the default code 1. I mean, theoretically, this should just be done with palettes, but I need to do like a global cleaning up of the palettes to begin with, anyways. So he'll eventually hit that. There we go. All right. Nope. Let's switch modes now, and that's still giving me the wrong input. And this is the right one. If paint mode is true, let's do this. I want to see we'll set up a message. And let me just replay this. I just want to see if that message actually gets hit or not. Okay, here we go. All right, I just have it reversed is the problem. So we're going to this doesn't make any sense. Maybe I haven't switched the mode just yet. Let's go back into here. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Maybe my next game will be catching the player. Alright, I'm confused as to why... Oh, you know why? I know why. Because the selector default is down here. And this is where the condition needs to be. So let's copy this event. Here, we're going to paste this event after. We're going to disable this event here. And all we need to do here, I think, was right. Set it to delete. And let's delete this event. I messed up. I forgot that it started at 1. So 0, if it's 0, that's the default value in the switch statement. Let me delete this. Let me delete this. So now if we rerun this, it should show the right cursor in the right position. Sorry, just typing a message. I was sort of talking about it the other day. I've been working on a site that will take all my YouTube videos and turn it into a website. But what I'm trying to get it to do is also display when the site is live, or when the stream is live. And I don't know what's going on because it worked fine just when I started the stream, but now it lost the badge, so I'm just trying to have Lovable figure out what it's doing. Alright, so let's go and switch modes. Ugh, it went to delete. Oh, that's because this needs to be code input, this needs to be default, and we'll rerun this again. All right, so come back here. Oops. Let's go to, well, actually, this isn't going to work. I switched the modes. All right, now this is actually showing the right cursor. Great. The one thing that's concerning me, though, is that, all right, we're getting the right cursor here. Cancel this. Let's go into switch mode. All right, something's bothering me here because this condition should be false, but I can't remember when you do one of these things what the I don't think it tells you between it being true or false. I guess this just means it's true. So I think I have this paint mode inverted, but I will have to deal with that later. Let me get a little water. Hold on a second. All right. So the next thing we need to do is we need to make sure that if we're in one of these dead areas, that we skip over that area. So in order to do that, the way we're going to have to do it here is that we're going to go back to this move selector. Let's delete this vent. And so what we're doing here is we're reset the position flag, set the actor to the new position. So what we need to do is why is if P direction reset the position flag? What is driving this? Excuse me, test how to move. I'm trying to think through what the problem is here. Sorry, just telling Lovable that it's an idiot. All right, so what we need to do is we're just going to detect the position, and if the mouse is at a certain, or if the selector is at a certain one of these columns, we're just going to skip it over one more. So in order to do that, test how to move the selector. I'm just trying to remember V selector XY position, call script update selector. Let's do this here. If paint, if true, and we're going to look for paint mode, and we're just going to do message paint. I just want to see actually what happens if we move this around, because I think this paint, I think this cursor, I think this paint mode variable is reversed. So I need to fix it. Let's go here. Draw. Now let's switch modes. And it says we're in paint mode. So this is a problem. What's going on here, we need to reverse this. I think when we change paint mode, let's go here to when we push select. All right, so if paint mode is true, we are going to set paint mode to false, and if paint mode is false, we're going to set it to true. So now in here, what we want to do is, if paint mode is true, here's where it's messed up. All of this, I just need to move these around. Let's see if I can do this without screwing it up. I just had it in reverse. And then that means in the move selector, when I was testing, no wait, it was update selector. We just need to switch these around to default and code input. All right, hopefully this changes the inverted flag. So we'll go to edit. Now it started here, so something is wrong. So at least now it knows we're in paint mode. I just don't think that we started in the right position. So let's come back here. And I think there must be somewhere that's calling this somewhere else that I'm missing. Or we just need to set paint mode to false. Just trying to think. When we toggle the editor, enable editor, map editor input. V edit mode. Let's set, yeah, here we go. We need to set this to true. And the actor is this, not the player. Sorry, now we should come back and be able to see this working. All right, come back here. All right, we're in paint mode. Great. If we switch modes and we're up here, we don't get any of those errors. Perfect. So now I'm just going through and deleting events that we're no longer using as a bit of housekeeping. Delete event. All right, we'll save this. So now what we need to do is we go back over to our script move selector. Actually, I can't remember where I put that mode. Where did I put that? Oh, here it is. If we're in paint mode, we actually want to reverse this. So let me insert an event before false. If a variable is set to false, paint mode. Let's delete this. Oh no, I wanted to set it. If false. If this variable is false, let me delete this. Paint mode. So if it's false, what we want to do is we want to first check out the if I'm just trying to think through how to do this. So we can do it this way. We can do a switch because there's no if, then, else, if in GP Studio. So because we're missing this if, else, if block, the easier way to do it probably is with a switch. That's probably actually going to be faster. So what we're going to look for is we want to look for the column of where the cursor is so that when we hit that empty space, we can just continue it over one more. So what we'll do is we're going to, I'm just trying to think through how this is going to work. The variable is going to be the selector X, Y column. We're looking for two values. And the two values are really going to be, I need to figure out where this code goes. But I think this is the easiest way. Like what I was trying to do is I was trying to leverage as much of the UI as I could. So, all right, so this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 8 and 13. So 8 and 13. And I'm just going to fire a message off right here just to make sure we got gap 8. Message gap 13. So now what I'm looking for is that when we switch over into the code mode, the whole goal, what I was trying to do is I was trying to reuse as much of the cursor or the selector logic as possible without having to like completely reproduce it. So we do this, and now it's interesting. We don't get, this doesn't register. Let me make sure that it's not down here. No, it's not working at all. If paint mode, I guess it doesn't like this idea of the switch. You know why? Because I did this wrong. It's X. It should be V selector X. And let's retry this again. All right, so I think the player will eventually hit this platform and stop. All right, so now we switch modes. 8. Oh yeah, I gotta move it over by 2 because there's an offset. So instead of it being 13, 8, it should be 10 and 15. right, gap 10. This doesn't really help as I didn't draw anything, so I can't really see. All right, -1. Yep, okay. All right, one last time. Gap 9. This is 14. Gap 14 and go. So yeah, so the reason of doing this is because I want to reuse as much of the logic as possible from moving the cursor around. So it's just easier to say, okay, we can change the boundaries of the movement. And by changing the boundaries, we then still are able to use all this looping logic. We just now are in a different zone. So we hit this, we're now here, we're gonna go here, and as soon as we get here, we're gonna get the gap 9, and then gap 14. Okay, so now what we need to do is that we just need to switch this over by 1. I also wanted to test, oops, I didn't mean to switch modes. Switch mode. It's funny, the B doesn't work, which I moved to, let me switch modes again. I guess I screwed things up. I wanted it to be where you held down B in order to jump around. But maybe for some reason it doesn't like B as the modifier key. All right, we'll come back to that later. So now that we know where we are in the gap, all we need to do is do if I'm just trying to think if there's an easier way of doing this. Let's disable the else and insert an event for, and we're going to call this set variable. And we're actually going to make this called p skip. Let me come up here. We're going to make this p skip x, and then I just want to see view user script usage is in the metatile timeline. So all we need to do now is when we call this script, where is the logic for this? I just like my brain just blanked out and didn't remember what we were actually changing. I think this was the update selector. So here, whenever we call update selector, no, not update selector, it's the move selector. So it needs the selector direction. I think it's set up here. We don't do this when we change this, do we? Oh yeah, we go move selector. So we're gonna set this to p set. Oops. Why can't I? What is going on here? What am I missing? When we're here, we're going to call this skip x. I don't know why why this is set to a constant now. I don't know why this is not set to a variable. We want to set this to P. Shoot, what did I do here to break this? Why can I only set this to a global variable? Something is really weird here. I've somehow found a way to break this, and I don't know why. This is script move selector. So we come here and we find move selector, and we have 3 variables here, and for some reason they are not showing up correctly anymore. Pay mode true, pay mode false, fine. Script paint tile. The direction, the local set position, and then the p skip x is going to be a variable, and we're just going to pass it in temp1. And in fact, we could probably just do this as P1 and P0, but let's fix this here. L set the position, fine. We're going to make this a variable, and we're going to set this to temp0, variable, temp0, variable, temp0, temp0, and I think that was all the places where we call it. So if we move this around, let's see if I broke anything. That's really weird. I don't know why it's not passing in those variables correctly anymore to that script, but I guess we'll see in a second what's going on. It's weird. It seems to be working fine. All right. So let's do this now. I'm going to save real quick. What we want to do here is we want to see if the selector P skip X. Oh no, wait. We want to leave this here. All right, so what we're going to do is we're setting up this P skip X to 0 as our flag. And so as P skip X equals 0 means that when we need to calculate if we need to skip over an extra tile, we're going to increment it here. So the way we do that is by we reset the value to 0 every time this is called. In the switch, we're now looking for the X position of the selector to see if it's in one of these gaps we need to skip. If it's in gap 9, what we're going to do is we're going to set this to 1. So insert set. Actually, we're just going to do this. Increment by 1. And what we're going to do is we're going to set skip position X We're going to delete this. We're going to copy this event, paste it after, and we're going to delete this other display. So now what we're doing is if we're either in tile 9 or tile 14, we're setting the flag that the X needs to be skipped by 1. And then here we're going to do if variable. And if we see that pskipX equals 1, all we need to do is test if variable, compare with variable. We're going to look for the P direction. We want to do a constant. We want to see if it is left. And then all we're going to do is set set variable. Set variable to value. We're going to set the skip X to -1, and then I think the only thing we need to do after that is just set condition. Yeah, the only thing we need to do right now is we just need to set variable to a value. We're just going to take the Vx, we're going to do some math, and we're going to take the variable for Vx, and we're going to add it to the variable skip. All right, so what's happening here is this. We're basically, I'm trying to cut down on the amount of conditions that we have that are nested, and I'm trying to reuse as much of the same logic as possible. So what I didn't want to do is have a condition in here that whenever we hit one of these tiles, we do the same condition, the same check. Sorry, I just got a notification that something went offline. So what we do is we take this selector, we are going to just simply increment this by 1 or 2, and then we're going to shift it over. And because we apply the movement after all this stuff, this will sort of intercept the value being applied to the thing. So what should technically happen is that when we hit the gap, if we're going to the left, it'll skip it backwards. If we go to the right, it'll skip it forward. And it didn't do anything, but it's also hard to tell when I don't have this. All right, switch mode. So that should have made it skip. What I think is happening is let me just double check my logic here. So what happens is that if we are in paint mode, here we don't do anything. Let me remove this else. We set this position. There's no else here. Now we need to test. Let's do one other thing here. We're going to set it to insert event after variable. We're going to set p set this. We're going to make this a boolean, and we're going to set it to true. So I'm going to tie into this flag that I have here that basically says set to position, which is a marker that it needs to skip the animation. It needs to skip the movement and just go straight to that position. All right, so we switched this back to here, and it's not getting triggered. So something is going on. Here's what we do. I'm gonna take a quick break. I'll be back in a couple minutes, and then we'll go back through and we'll just debug this. So we're almost there. Once we get this piece going, then it's going to be relatively easy to start adding in the logic to change the tile. The only problem is that when we change the tile, we're going to need to update the code. And I think I have an idea. Let me actually write a note to myself real quick. Use code tiles to store code. Can we use the tiles for the code to store code value? Or do we need variables for each char? My thinking behind this was, I wonder, we could use, instead of having to create variables for each of the characters, could I use the background? But I just realized that when I reset the level, it's going to break. So, all right, we'll come back to that. I'm gonna take a quick break. I'll be back in a couple minutes, and then we'll go from there. Okay, I am back. So, I need to debug why this is not connecting. So let me go into the move selector logic, and I'm going to go back into the switch statement. And actually, I'm going to put it right here because I want to test to see if this is set to 1. Because this p skip, let's insert an event before. We're going to do a message skip. And I want to set this to p skip x. And let's just do this at the bottom here. Because what we'll wind up doing is we'll just print out both things. Both variables, and we'll take a look at what they say. Oh, I didn't move that. I need to move this up one. All right, so what I'm just trying to do is I'm just trying to see if the variable is being found, or at least if the condition is being found, and if it is being found, how do we address it? So, this is, oops, I don't want to do this. Switch mode, skip 1. So, I'm going to try this a different way. I want to see if I can make this -2. And then that will allow me to, I want to see if maybe it's just like a position thing, like maybe changing it by 1 is not working. And what we really need to do is just change it by 2. Nope, it doesn't skip it. Test how to move selector. Ah, here's why. I just saw the error. The error is that I'm setting... Where did this thing go? Here we go. We are setting the v start x, which should really be the selector x. And that will add this on. This should be -1. I think we can disable this message. And let's try this one more time. Yeah, I sort of get hung up a lot with GB Studio because it automatically fills in variables. And I'd actually prefer it to just give you a warning or an empty variable and then let you pick it. Oops, we need to draw something. There we go, switch mode. All right, well that's reset it to the 0 position. That skipped it all over the place. I think we just need to value. Here we go, selector X. Okay, so we're taking the selector X, we're adding this to itself, and then that should now correct everything. Whew. I hope so. I'd like to move on. This is like a silly thing to be spending so much time on, but this is part of making games, is dealing with UI. All right, switch mode. There we go. Works perfectly. All right, so now we have this cursor jumping to the right position. Let's do this. I want to actually save everything because now what we need to do is paint tile. And whenever we call this paint tile, we need to now test whether we are painting a tile or if we are sorry, my brain's not working very well today. We want to see if we're going to paint a tile or we want to see if we are actually going to enter a character. So I just want to switch mice real quick because my other mouse is charged now. And let's do this. I'm going to insert an event before. We're going to do if true. And we're going to look for paint mode. If paint mode is true, we're going to do all this stuff. If it's false, we're going to make a message that just says increment code. Or we'll just do add letter. Sure, whatever. And then I think what I need to do is I'm going to switch over to C, and I'm going to create a special event, because what I need this event to do is I needed to tap into what's going on. So, and by that, I'll have to explain. Let's do this. Let's switch modes. What I mean by tapping into what's going on, I wanted to tap into the tile map editor and the coding system. I don't want to just have to do all this stuff in GB Studio's visual editor. These event things are just too difficult to work with, especially on what we're going to need to do, which is cycling through characters. We're going to want to make sure that certain characters are valid next to others. So there's a lot of validation that needs to happen. So what happens now is that if we come here and we hit A, it's going to let us draw, or it'll tell us that we can add a character. And when we're back in Paint, we can paint. I need to fix some of this logic, but we'll deal with that later. Okay, so now that we're saved, let me open up Visual Studio Code. And what we're going to do is this. We're going to create a new chat, and we're going to tell it, actually, wait, delete this, delete Copilot, and we're going to SSH into my NAS Studio, NAS Local, and CD volume, workspace, Jesse, projects, GB Studio, Reaper Boy, Metatile. All right, clear and git status. Git commit M cleaned up moving logic for selector in code editor. I'm just gonna push all this stuff to my Git repo real quick. All right, clear this. And now what we want to do is I want to create a custom event. I want to add in the code gen. I want to create a custom event for entering in characters for the code. The way it should work is that when I call this script, it will look at the current character under the cursor. It'll look at the current tile at the XY position I pass in, and based on that tile ID, it will, based on the tile ID and a variable flag for going forward or backwards, it will increment or decrement the character tile. The character tiles go from this is 0, 3, meta tile 0, 3, which is 0 through 15, 3, 15, 3, which is F, and on the next row 0, 4, which is G, and continues all the way to 3, 5, 3/5, which is Z. Let's do this. So success looks like calling this script, passing in X, Y, and reverse Boolean. Then the script looking at the correct meta tile ID, going to the next letter, next char, if reverse is false, or going back a char if reverse is true, and finally the chars should loop, so 0 to in reverse goes to Z, and Z forward goes back to 0. Look at the other events for examples of how to structure this. Alright, I mean, I could probably type out a spec forever. Let's see how far Copilot can go on this. And then what we're going to do is what I was trying to do the other day. We're going to try to do, I'm going to put this here so I can monitor it a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of multitasking. So I'm looking at the sprites. I want to make sure that I have a ghost sprite. I have this exit sprite, which needs to be fixed. This should actually be... Oh, I don't have the sprites for this one yet. Wait, what is going on here? I want to change this to open. And on open, it's just going to be, we need to make this taller. So what is this? This is 1630, 32 tall. So we'll paint this. We'll paint this. And then we have oh no, that's not good. I need to change the way these sprites work. I forgot that they're vertical like this. Alright, this is still doing its thing. Okay, let's go back and we'll edit these sprites for a second. This is the exit. We need to make this, let's make this 94 for right now. Sure. And I just need to, I'm going to copy this for a second. But what we really need to do is grid settings, make the grid 8, and I'll show you why in a second. Basically, we want to make sure that we have different sprites for each of these, and since the sprites are 8x16 or 8x16, we can't stack 8x8 sprites on top of each other. We have to do them like this. So let's sprite crop this, save it. I think this is done. No, wait, continue. Yeah, you keep going. You do your thing. Selector, fine. Let's go back here. And we just need to reload the assets. And we're going to delete this for a second. And, oh, it's doing this thing where it, hold on. Let me save this and we'll just reload the project. Yeah, there's some bug in GB Studio. Oh, cool. Where it crashes every time I try to reload it. There's some sort of bug that when you change the sprites outside of GB Studio, it winds up, where the hell is the exit? It winds up messing up the layout of things. Because we need to do this. We're going to put another one here. And then we're going to flip this guy like this. And we're going to put in up here. And then our next frame, we'll be deleting this and deleting this. And we're putting this one down. And we'll copy this. Let's delete this. Let's delete this. Let's paste this in. We will flip this. And then I was just going to copy these two. This may not work. We may need to make this a little bit higher. 32 plus 8 is 40. And now if we run this animation, you'll see that we now get this in animation. And these are some little details that I'd left out when I was doing sort of the prototype. And it's just easier than me. I was going to maybe make this a separate sprite, but I think just keeping it all as one big thing would work the best. All right, let's see. I've successfully created a custom event called Cycle Characters for the Tile Map Editor plugin that allows cycling through the character tiles. Here's what it implements. Event cycle characters, fine. Add the function declare. Bidirectional. Added the character tile constants. README, added documentation for the new event. How it works, the function works. Let me ask it one more thing. I'm gonna start wiring this up while it tells me what it's gonna do. But basically, when we're in this paint tile, we're now going. Oh, I need to reload this. Hold on a second. Let's save this. Let's switch projects. So whenever we make an update to a JavaScript event plugin, we need to reload the entire editor in order to get that going. So I just use the switch projects to make that faster. So we're going to look at the paint tile. We're now going to insert an event before, and I think it's cycle character tile. And what we're going to do here is we're going to pass in the property of the selector X and the property of the selector Y. And let's delete this. It gave me this boolean. We're going to need to tweak this a little bit more. In fact, let me just add a insert event before. We're going to call this well, you know, for right, here's what we're going to do. Let me just insert an event before. We'll add a comment, and to do need a check for reverse add to B, or just add entire logic to B instead of here. All right. Hopefully that'll be enough context for me to remember. All right. Let's do this. And now what we're going to do is cycle the character tile forward. All right. Now, theoretically, if it made this correct, although it may give me some bugs, it tends to. Sometimes when I have it do something like super complicated like this, and I give it like lots of steps, Copilot tends to create a lot of errors, and we just have to weed our way through the errors. Well, it's running. It's taking a minute, but this is more promising than it just outright failing. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. Make it through. I gotta look into what those warnings are. All right, perfect. Let's see now. We'll come here. We'll draw a platform just so this guy isn't driving us nuts. We're going to switch modes. And now, if I hit A, it's supposed to be changing this, but I don't see it actually doing anything. Okay. Seeing it do anything. Can you make 2 modifications to the can you make 2 modifications to the event? First, I want to pass in a variable for reverse, not a Boolean flag. And second, I want to pass in a debug variable that returns the next char ID. All right, and while it does that, I wanted to go back into my sprites to see there's other things we needed to do here. I don't have the enemy star. I need to create the animation for that. I don't remember. I have to look back at how I did that in the other project. Let's see if we can open up another instance of GB Studio at the same time. And sure. All I need to do is look at sprites, enemy star, and I just wanted to see how these things moved around. There's no way this is going to work, but let's give it a try. Oh, that's cool. That actually worked. I can't believe I was able to copy all those frames out. So all we need to do now is I got to create a palette for the star. I have to go through. There's like a lot of work that I need to do in order to clean up all the palettes and everything. All right. It looks like Copilot is done. So let's update this, and we need to reload this project. Reaper Boy. Nope, I didn't want that one. Cancel, cancel, cancel. I want the Metatile one, which is the one we're working on. Didn't like that idea. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it just opens up and crashes right out, but I'm also working on an alpha build of GB Studio for some more advanced stuff that hasn't been exposed yet to the regular build. So that's on me. All right, what I want to look at is paint tile. And when we come here, I'm going to just do this. Variable 27 and variable... Actually, what I can do is I can set this to temp tile ID, so we can watch that. And this could just be set to... there's another Boolean I think I have. Well, whatever. We'll just set it to 27. So now let's run this and see. What we want to look at is the vtemp tile ID. And theoretically, when we pass that in, what's going to happen is that the C code is going to set the value there. And then if I see it incrementing, at least I'll be able to know, like, right off the bat whether something is going on under the hood, because the one thing GB Studio doesn't do is it doesn't expose print statements. So I have no idea how to actually, like, really debug anything. I wonder, let me look that up. Maybe there's somebody, maybe somebody has... See if somebody's figured this out. Print question, GB Studio. Oh, no, it's a printer. All right, let me see if I can get this to work real quick. So we're going to switch modes, and I'm going to... pressing this button to increment to the next tile, but I am not seeing anything happen. So now let's get out of the build logs. Let's go back to all, and there should be like a temp tile ID. Yeah, so it's not doing anything. Let's take a look at the code and see why. Just trying to see what it's doing here. VM cycle character. current tile, SRAM data. Alright, so I think the first part is, this is wrong. It actually should be using, in Paint, we have a function called preview or brush tile. You know, let's just look at the header. Get brush tile position. So if we look at this, where is print? Or let's code gen paint, I mean. Oh, so we do use a script memory, huh? I think it's brush tile state. No, wait, that's... This just sets it to a temporary variable. What we want is this. Get tile type. Now let's go back over to CodeGen here. And I'm going to change this to this and stop this. And then this get type. Just trying to track down where this. Well, no, this should work. Current tile type. I don't know where the main function is for this. Like, this is a function. Where is this defined? All right, I'm gonna just try running it real quick and just see if this makes any difference. I think it's going to just return the wrong number, but I don't know. I don't know why all of a sudden this is having so much trouble figuring this thing out. This is a pretty straightforward thing to do. Let's come here. Interesting. It sees 6, but it's not. I wonder what happens here. Maybe, first off, let me make this another variable, v28. We'll watch 27 and 28. Actually, cancel out of this. Come on, cancel out of this. No, I don't think there's any way to cancel out of it because it wasn't a... I just want to see what's going on here. Let's switch mode. And now... let me go back here. And... I think this is variable 27 and 28. So I move it here. It's weird how it goes from 6 to... Okay, let's do this. I am still not. I'm gonna revert it. I'm still not seeing the tile change. Can we do a quick debug test to simply set the tile to A whenever the script is called, and just hard code it for now. All right, so the only other ways that I can think of debugging this is I'm just gonna have to go like step by step through, and basically we'll start with something static and just say like, look, can you actually just draw a tile to this position? Because if I can draw a tile to this position, that means I can read that position, and then if I can read that position, I can increment it and then draw the tile back. So right now I'm just going to tell it to draw an arbitrary A tile to this position and see what happens. All right, so we'll do this. We are going to rerun the program, and luckily because we're only changing the C code, we're not changing the actual event, we don't have to reload GB Studio. All right, so I'm just going to skip right ahead. All right. Well, the good news is that it is drawing A, but something is wrong with its math. Now, the real question is, no, I'm passing the tile X and the tile Y of the selector and the selector. All right. I can see the A, but you are not putting it in the same XY position that is being passed in. All right, let's give it this photo so I can see. The tiles are staggered diagonally from top left to top to bottom right. The you should only update the tile the XY value is at. All right, so I'm not sure what the offset is and why this value isn't coming in correctly. Also store the coordinates in adjacent variables for extra debugging. Yeah, I don't know what this stuff is. We don't need this. And I wonder, I just want to take a look while it's trying to figure this out. I want to see if the debug code that it added in, if it actually sets the character to the right ID in the variable. If it'll build. Let's see here. So, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. So it does set it to 58, so we are at the right. This is weird though. Why it's doing this is beyond me. So let's see what happened here. I see the issue. The function is working. We can see the A tiles appearing, but there's a problem with how the coordinates. Debug output to see exact. Now when you call the function, it will display the received XY coordinates as numbers at the position. Still place the A exactly. All right, let's keep this and let's see. So now it's using my character set as a way of debugging. We'll see if it actually works though, but that's... Oh, it's going to be doing it off screen. Shoot. Let me fix that real quick. It needs to be at 3, 3, 4, 3. I have this border around the levels so that when the player jumps out of the level, it gives them time to reset the location. But that offset just means that everything is shifted over by a couple. This is weird. That didn't work. How about we hard code? Wait, I don't understand what's getting passed in here and why this is failing. We're passing the tile X and the tile Y. We should be able to read these. All right, let's stop at this for a second. What is the X position and the Y position? This comes in here and this comes in here. I want to try something different. I'm going to actually use X as the debug, and let's get rid of this stuff here. And then what'll happen is that I'm gonna pass in the X position as the tile, and I want to see which tile it actually draws. So let's save this and restart it. This way, I understand it's trying to do some stuff with the letters, but I actually just want to get it to where where I can just output something and I can start like mapping back what the hell's going on here. So let's switch modes. We'll hit A. So I feel like something's getting corrupted. Let me restart the level. So the first thing that gets drawn is this tile. And this is, if I come back into my... So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I wonder if I pass in selector XY. Let's pass this in and see if this fixes the XY position. Also, while we're at it, whoops, all right, let's test this out real quick. All right, well, the good news is that this now works. I don't know why passing in the selector, you know what, I bet you, well, I have some rough ideas of what might have been happening, but I think the issue really came down to, let me delete all this. Well, we'll leave this for right now. We want this to be the we wanted to get the tile ID. All right, I'm gonna put this in here. Adjacent variables for extra debugging. We don't need this. I bet you that was screwing things up too. Store the tile ID in the debug variable. Rename. We're just going to call this tile ID. Just trying to see what it's doing here. Wait, I want to discard that. Why don't we just replace this and call this tile ID? And now if we rerun this, we should be able to, we should get A in all of the code positions. Yeah, this one's a little bit of a grind, but it's so close. Like right now, all I need to do is get it to correctly read the meta tile, change the letters, and then we just wire it up into the code editor. So I should paint A. I just want to make sure that I can do this on all of them and there's no other issues that I'm missing. All right, perfect. All right. I've figured out the issue and cleaned up the function to remove the debug code I no longer need. Can you now add back in the logic to get the meta tile ID and increment or decrement it by 1 based on the reverse flag, and make sure that 0 loops back to Z and Z loops back to 0. All right, let's have it do this. While it does that, I'm gonna just be right back. I'm just gonna change my desk for a second, and then we'll see what this thing spits out. Okay, let's see what Copilot has done for us. Now, if we can get it to just loop through these characters, this would be really good. Excuse me, this will allow me to make some progress finally. All right, so why don't we start with 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, Q, R, S, T, U, V, I just wanted to go a little slower. 1, 2, whoops. Oh. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, the reason why I was just double checking this was that last time I was trying to use these characters and doing some debugging stuff, I duplicated 2 numbers and thought an array was duplicating itself, and it created a bug that I had to track down for 2 hours until I realized the bug was me. Alright, cool, this works now. Alright, perfect. So, now that this works, I want to, let me save this code here, and I want to actually, I want to remove, can you now, all right, that works. Can you now remove the, what do I want to do? That works. Can you now remove the debug variable we no longer need? And how can I change the reverse back to a Boolean flag instead of a variable? Alright, because what we're going to do instead, and I'll just copy this over right now, copy event whenever we, let's see here, where is enable editor mode? If we hit B, let's disable this for a second. Oops, I'm going to paste this after, which is just going to tell it to move to the right. It'll just tell it to go in reverse. I was using it for some debugging earlier. But we only want this to happen if insert event before, if variable compare with value. No, wait, let's just do it this way. Insert event before condition if bar is true. Wait, no, we want to do this in reverse. Delete event. Insert event before false. If variable is false, we want paint mode. And then we're going to pass this in, and we are going to disable the else, and we're going to delete this. The other way we could do it is we could do it if you hold down B and then hit A, that reverses it. I'm going to do it with B for a second, but I actually think I like that idea a little bit better, where, well, let's get this working and then we can deal with this in a second. Sorry, so let me save this. I need to now reload the project to see if this event worked. GB Studio decided to crash. Cool, GB Studio is doing one of its crashing things. I wonder why it does that. There we go. Sometimes if you like try to reload it and it keeps crashing like that, the easiest way to fix it is just actually just go and open it from the file itself. The launcher sort of gets stuck sometimes. We had this enable editor. We had this on B. I'm just going to put reverse direction here, and this is V selector X, V paint mode. All right. So now what should happen is that if we hit B, it should go back a letter, and if we hit A, it should go forward a letter. And then this is probably where I'm going to stop the stream for the day. Now that I have this working, all I need to do is just run this back into the painting tool. And then once this sort of flow works, I should be able to get it to where you can actually enter in a code. And then once we get the code entered, then loading it and unloading it, or loading it and saving it, should be pretty easy. Excuse me. Oh, it's taking its sweet time. There we go. All right, so we have Z. Oh, I don't know why it's now. I don't know why it's going in reverse. The only thing I think of. Script paint tile. I wonder why this happens. I'm just trying to think of what to do here. Let me try it this way. Enable else. Let me put this here. And let me disable this. There's some issue I have with B the B event being captured by something else, and I don't know where that is. So I'll have to just figure that out. Let me exit this. Let's switch mode. And it's going in reverse, but that's because this is set to reverse, and I also have it in here. So let's disable this event. Actually, you know what? Here's where we really need to have it. What we need to do is if button held is B. So if we're holding B and pressing A, we'll reverse it. So let's copy. Let's paste this event after. We're going to move this into this condition here. We're going to set it to reverse. We'll leave everything else the same. And then we just need to go back to this enable editor, and we're actually going to just every time you press A, we're always going to call this event. We're going to delete this, and now Paint will handle whether it's in the code or not. Alright, so I don't know why it's stuck going in reverse. I wonder if there's an issue. Let me do one other thing here. We'll do one quick test for Paint, and I want to see if this is B. Insert event before. We'll just do a message. Reverse. And I want to also see if this code is screwed up somehow. I don't even remember what event cycle character. If reverse is false, which it always is going to be, because reverse, if reverse is true, it should go backwards, but right, okay, that works. That seems to be set up correctly. Let's switch modes. Yeah, for some reason, it's not catching the fact that I have B down. Like, B works, right? If I hit start and I hit B, that gets out of it. I switch modes. Alright, well, I can fix this problem because... Let's do one last, like, test to see if this is working correctly. Oh wait, it's not going to figure this out. This is because it needs the actual letters first. Yeah, it's still going in reverse. Alright, so let's do this. It looks like the reverse. This is always going in reverse. No matter how I change the toggle, can you double check the event and code to make sure this is wired up correctly? If I select reverse in the event, it should go in reverse and default to going forward. All right, I think this is where I'm going to call it a day for the stream and just take a break. I have some other stuff that I need to work on today, but I think now that this is basically working where I can cycle through the different characters, I'm going to clean this up a little bit more. Tomorrow, I will... I'm hoping that by tomorrow I can start getting into actually polishing up the game, adding in some of these other effects, and we're close. I definitely think by the end of this weekend I will have a fully working game. I won't have sound, but I think that's all I really need at the moment anyways. So, all right. I'll do one quick test just to see if this worked, and then I will stream tomorrow. And I have a feeling I'll probably be streaming through the weekend just to wrap this up, so why not? I just have a whole bunch of other stuff I need to switch over to today. I'm like behind on all my projects because this game has taken me a week longer than I anticipated. Well, now it doesn't even work. So reverse doesn't work. Let me try toggling it and see if that works. All right, that doesn't work at all. Wait, you know what? Let me do one other thing. Let me switch projects, save. Let me go back into this project because maybe it changed something on the event or something that I missed. And all right, let me rerun this real quick. I'm getting the impression it hasn't done anything here to change this, so All right. Let's do this. Let's go here. And yeah, it is completely broken. So, all right. I think this is where my stream ends. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll just see you guys tomorrow.